Okay, thank you very much. Are we ready? Okay, thank you, baby. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see you. Okay, let's continue with the Chinese instructional talks from Master YongHua. Cynthia, I thought there was a question you talked to me earlier.
Yes, there's a question from Fang about last night's lecture.
Yes.
So I'll read the question.
Yes, go ahead.
Master, I wanted to understand more of the cultivator's love that you explained in last night's lecture. As I practice more, I enjoy more and more of the bliss and find myself often feeling bothered or sometimes annoyed when interacting with my kids. For example, when they call me for help or ask me for favors, I often felt a bit annoyed and felt they disturbed the quiet and peaceful state that I obtained from my practice. Then I would feel guilty for not being a good mother and lacking the motherly love towards them. I am not at Mr. and Mrs. Pang's level. At my level, what should I do as a practitioner to love my children?
We never had that problem before. Anyone has had such a problem before? Huh? I don't know. I don't have any children. I'm afraid I, can't shed any lights on this. Help me out, please, mothers and fathers and husbands. Huh? As usual, you're cold. You're so cold. Okay. You must have some experience. What are you supposed to do? What would you do? The reason I ask you is because it gives me time to think. Okay. And number two, it gives you a chance to express your feelings, your opinions, and share your experience. This is why I feel that our sessions are very beneficial for everyone because we're learning from each other. And number three, I'm also looking at your levels and double-checking your levels as well because it's consistent with how you approach your problems. Okay, so go ahead.
A Di Đà Phật. Dạ thưa cha mẹ, đối với con cái đó, thì mỗi trường hợp mỗi khác, thì không có thể lấy cái trường hợp của con để mà giúp đỡ ý kiến cho cái người kia. Nhưng mà con chỉ nói chung chung thôi là khi mình tu hành mà là một người tại gia thì cũng phải biết phân phối thì giờ cho hợp lý. Nếu mà mình buông hết mọi sự trong gia đình để lo tu thì mình thiếu bổn phận đối với gia đình. Mình cũng phải làm tròn bổn phận, hoặc là làm cha, hoặc là làm mẹ, hoặc là làm vợ, hoặc làm con. Thì cái sự tu hành của mình không làm cho người gia đình phiền não. Đó là ý kiến thứ nhất. Và xin mời thông dịch rồi con sẽ nói tiếp.
Emitofuo, Master, as a mother and a father, with each particular cases with our children is different. So we cannot use one situation pertaining, applying to another one. So that is to use their opinion to apply for others. So in general, when we cultivate as a lay person, we need to use our time, separate our time appropriately. You cannot, if we just use our time to dedicate in cultivation only, so then that is lack of responsibility for the family. However, if you can use your time to share equally among your children and your other parts, then that would be the best. That was my first part.
Hai là khi con cái mà nó cần tới sự giúp đỡ của mình, nó có hỏi thì mình mới trả lời, mình mới giúp ý kiến, chứ mình không có thể lấy quyền làm cha mẹ mà biểu nó phải nghe lời mình khi nó chưa cần đến.
My second opinion is that only help when your children ask you for your opinion. We don't force the issue upon our children.
Và khi mình san sẻ ý kiến thì mình phải tùy theo cái tánh khí của mỗi đứa mà mình phải biết cách góp ý. Thí dụ như con có 2 đứa con, một đứa con trai thì tánh nó nhẹ nhàng, tình cảm, thì khi nó hữu sự thì con cũng dùng tình cảm để con khuyên răn. Còn đứa con gái á, thì tánh tình nó rất là can cường, nó hưng cảm, thì con rất là dè dặt khi mà góp ý, và con không có dám là áp đặt cái ý kiến của mình lên trên nó, và con chỉ đưa ra những cái thí dụ rồi tùy theo cái cô đó mà cổ quyết định thôi, chứ không dám áp đặt, bởi vì cổ rất là hưng cảm.
So it's depending on the nature of your children. Then when you apply appropriate opinion to a different one. For example, I have 2 children. One of the boy, his nature is gentle and more of emotional side. So when he ran into a problem, I would use gentleness and emotional to actually give him opinion and trying to help him. However, my daughter, her nature is very strong and hard. So sometimes she's bipolar, and I really having to choose my best way, use my thought, my opinion appropriately in order to give her opinion, depending on the way she wanted to approach the problem. I would not force the issue upon her, let her choose what she wanted to do with her life.
Và cuối cùng thì đối với con, cái điều quan trọng nhất là mình đừng có ỷ rằng mình là người biết tu hành mà mình lấy làm tự cao tự đại và muốn rằng tất cả những thành viên trong gia đình đều phải nghe lời mình. A Di Đà Phật, con xin chấm dứt.
And lastly, the most important things to me is don't think that we are the cultivator, so we use our arrogance and hard head to force the member in our family to follow our opinion. So this is my last thought. That's all.
Very good. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Anyone else would like to share with us your thinking? Yes, Orange.
Hello? Okay. So I was going to say that I think like with children, especially young children, one of the ways they easily annoy us is like if we hold high expectations for them. And so if you just lower your expectations, don't expect too much, it'll help as well. And the thing that also is interesting is that they also, like children also constantly help you find your own afflictions. So like if you are, constantly, like you want to be around bliss, the feeling of bliss, or you try to sit around for, hours and hours and suddenly your child like jumps on top of you, you can't be attached to meditation, you can't be attached to those feelings. And even peace is something that you shouldn't be attached to. They just remind you of your own afflictions.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Anyone else? Okay. YouTube question, is there a different, is this a commentary or another question?
Commentary.
Commentary, go ahead.
From Cordellia, initially I was afflicted when my family's son bothered me because it did take me out of my bliss. But as time goes by, every time my son asked me for help, I chose to get out of my bliss and help him. Rather than being in my own zone, I remembered the reason why I started to cultivate was for my son and family.
Very good. Xin Xin, would you like to offer your commentary or your advice? I call upon you just like that.
Master,
teaches you to think on your butt. I mean on your feet.
this question was sort of asked in the Zoom class today, this morning.
And what did the Chinese have to say?
One mentioned similarly to Ray said about the lower the expectations.
Hmm?
And I was also explaining similar to what Cordelia says, that eventually you will have to recognize that you're attached to the bliss. So you have to think about that now you're doing this for your children instead of, you have to make a choice right there.
All right. And what else?
But I think that we decided to ask Master because the difficulty was for her to make that choice when it comes down to it. She naturally feels annoyed.
It's your class. Okay, anyone else would like to share your experience? Okay, what was the question again? Okay, very good. All your input are correct, should be helpful, but I will offer a few more angles for you. It is nice when you practice Chan meditation that you're able to enjoy those moments of bliss. That's a wonderful, wonderful attainment for yourself, because most ordinary people would not have such a skill. Most people, they get up in the morning and within 1 minute, they would start thinking immediately, and they cannot stop thinking until they pass out or they go to sleep or they die, something like that. Okay, and so the Chan skill is very important for more important than people realize, because it's like your engine. If you keep on running 24 hours a day, it will wear out so quickly. You need time for it to idle, to take a break and shut it off and so forth. So Chan meditation similarly is similar to shutting off your engine so that it has a chance to cool down, and that way it will last a lot longer. This is why the Europeans and Westerners, they age so fast, because they are constantly thinking and pursuing their sensual pleasures. Whereas Asians are more repressed or suppressed, depending on how you look at it. And they tend to age a little bit slower. Okay, so it's a wonderful thing that you have attained as a practitioner, and therefore it's something of a treasure That's part of your wealth you can give to your family, to others. Please keep that in mind. Because most other people do not have such luxury, such skill set that we are very keen on helping you develop and hone it and fine-tune it and improve it constantly. You'll be amazed. At your level right now, you're able to experience a bliss already. As you get better and better, you'll be able to do a lot more than you realize. It's fantastic. Okay, so keep it up, first of all, in terms of practice. Number two, you should also be cognizant of the fact that you're a lay person, not a left form person. So a lay person, well, the difference is that you have obligations to your family. Whereas left form people, we choose to not have such ties, such afflictions, and therefore we have fewer issues to deal with, because for most of us, family issues are very, very weight very heavily in our hearts. I would say for normal people, that's typically, if you're a woman, it's and a mother, it's more than 50% of your energy is spent on resolving those afflictions. And for men, it's slightly less, more like 20%. That's why we get married, you know. Anyway, it's a joke again. You guys are so sexist. Okay, so you have to realize part of our cultivation is to make the best of the circumstances. The Chinese Chan would like to call it accord with conditions, 随缘. Okay, and therefore, when it's time for you to meditate, give it your all. When it's time for you to work, you should work. Same thing here at the temple. Our people, when it's time to practice, which is virtually not very often, we meditate and we practice. But when it's time to work, which is most of the time, we work. Okay, you complain, it's not going to help. All right, so because of your family obligations, and that's part of your conditions, you need to take care of those obligations. It's called karmic debts. You owe to your family because it's your husband who bring in the money and give you a chance to pursue your interests, and therefore it's reasonable that you meet his expectations. It's just fair. If he burns himself out working, then you should bear more the burden on taking care of his children and your children. So it's just fairness. You should not be that selfish. Okay? And I detect a little bit of selfishness where, how dare you mess up my bliss. Okay, you should be better than that, not just as a mother, as a wife, but also as a person. Okay, because it's counter to our practice. Part of what we do, part of our spiritual practice is to give, meaning that I keep on insisting on you, and reminding you that when there's a chance for us to give, give. Do not hesitate. Don't say, what's in it for me? That's too much. I'm not willing to do this. How can you think like that towards your children, towards your family? Okay, it's very important for me personally to help instill in all of you, parents or adults, this love and caring for your children and for the younger people. When I was a lay person, I didn't have any children because I felt the word bother, because I wasn't able to handle myself, let alone handle children. Now as I get older, I love children like little girls. Hi, little girl. You know your name, huh? All right. Okay. And so I feel that we adults have a responsibility in general as adults, that we need to take care of all the young, because they eventually pay for our social security stuff. If that helps persuade you to have a different perspective as well, okay? So we should take good care of the young. And you have insights about this Chan skill here, and therefore, if you act with kindness and more compassion, the young will look up to you. Will say, "I like to be like you." That's what we can do for them. I grew up and wanted to be like my dad, and I turned out, I don't like it when I got older. So it's a terrible, terrible thing. And I still attached to my mom until she died. So that's not a good thing either, because she's really not a good role model. So, so what you can do for the young is to be a good role model, to be caring, and to give and take care of them. And finally, I know you're getting bored here. And finally, the Chan practice is not just sitting, not just bliss, to try to be blissful, because that's an attachment. You have to cut it off. Because you're not careful, you continue like this, you will find it very difficult to improve. You have an attachment to bliss. That's very, very dangerous. It's not necessary. When you practice, you do it right, you feel blissful, you'll be happy. And it's time to work. Don't work and sit there and daydream about Chan. Okay? That is called false thinking. Okay? And so be careful about this subtle attachment to the bliss there. It's there, it's wonderful, and if you attach to it, you will find it much more difficult to experience better bliss. Okay? And in terms of bliss from sitting, you also learn to also be blissful. The Chan that we're teaching you is, I'm hoping in the future you'll be able to experience bliss while walking, while working, while laughing, while screaming at someone, while beating someone up. It's so much more fun that way. Wouldn't you like that? Huh? You slap someone, you feel so good. Besides, your hands feel so good as well. That's Chan. And it starts at home. Okay? You fulfill your responsibilities eventually. You get to the point where you can be blissful while in motion, or be blissful while being emotional. How's that? That's a Chan that we're teaching you. It may take a little bit longer for most of you, but you're planting the seeds to make it happen. Don't reject that. Anything else? Yes, orange.
So I had a question. When you recognize an affliction and you have difficulty overcoming that affliction, what are some ways or good ways to overcome your afflictions?
Like which one?
So for me, like my situation with my wife.
Okay, which affliction about your wife? You understand people, especially instructors, when people ask you a question, most monks and nuns immediately jump on that. Affliction is body, body is affliction, and so forth, like the Chinese like to do. And it's nonsense. Because you cannot, he's asking about specific issues he's not willing to reveal yet. You cannot take principles to fix it. Okay. Again, as I explained to you last night, you need to understand the principle, but you also need to understand how to apply the principles. Those it's called specifics in the Avatamsaka world. Okay, you need to learn both the principles and specifics. Principle is that you listen to sutra lectures and so forth, and read and discuss things and debate, Okay, but you also need to develop specifics, wisdom for specifics as well. And problems are specifics. You cannot. This is wrong for monks and nuns to throw theory at you because it's still unclear how you're going to fix it.
So for this case, I think my biggest affliction is fear of being abandoned.
Fear of being abandoned. Okay. Well, I never had that problem either. Darn it. Okay. Fear of being abandoned. Help! Oh? Have a heart. Come on, your master is asking for help. Koreans, to master's rescue, Master Sunim rescue. JC.
Hello. This is XA.
My dear
JC.
disciple that I abandoned to Korea.
Yes, Master, I miss you. We've been listening to your old Chan Dharma talks and transcribe and translate. One of your Dharma talks says, if you have affliction from worries, first you think about the worst case scenario. So like, for example, not that really his wife is going to abandon him, but just imagine if it actually did happen, what would be the worst case scenario? What would he do?
Wow,
So
that's
think
great
about
wisdom.
it.
I like it.
It's your Dharma talk. And then, so once you develop the idea of the worst case scenario, think of how to counter to that. Like, do I find another woman or go back?
Was I that
Something like
brutal? No, that doesn't
Yes,
sound
you
like me.
It's in the Dharma talk.
Okay.
So once you already go through all this worst case scenario, then it's a lot easier to sit and meditate and concentrate. That's like sort of the short summary.
Yeah, very good. Anyone agrees or disagrees or has a commentary? Master Xianqie, what happened to you? You used to be the one who said, Master, you said so 10 years ago. This is... Master Xianqie, what happened to you? You still awake?
Yes, Master. Sorry, I'm not paying very close attention. I was working with Jimmy a little bit.
I see. So it's Jimmy's fault. Jimmy, stop it. Okay, just kidding. You guys can be very sensitive, therefore I shouldn't joke too much. Yes, Green. What if I do, yeah?
Hello. Thank you, Master. I think maybe my husband feels he was abandoned at home because I came to the temple. So I feel I just do something I want to do, and he doesn't interested in. So I'm waiting. Maybe one day he interested and join me. I'm not abandoned. Thank you, Master.
I see. Yeah. But you don't have this fear of being abandoned because you know your husband needs you.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Master.
Okay, very good. But that's a good point as well. My goodness, you have so much wisdom. I wish I, have your wisdom. It'd be so much easier. Okay, very good. You see, you got that? Did you hear that? Okay. Couple of things you should learn from this. Number one, fear. Why are we fearful? Shorty, why do you fear? Why are you afraid? I don't know.
We worry about losing something.
You were worried about losing something. Yes, excellent. Is that all you learned from North Carolina? This lady has a PhD. What else did you learn? Don't ask for help. There's no other Korean here who cares. Chung-in Sunim, do you care to help her? Chung-in has been so silent. He says, I'm cooking again. I'm so happy. You have you're teaching China as well. You better learn how to express yourself. Don't say I don't know. I don't know, he says.
Sorry, Master. What is question?
That's even worse than I don't know. You weren't even listening. Yeah, say the question in Korean for him. Sarah. Got that?
Yes, I got it, Master. I'm talking in Korean. Thank you.
Yes, I'm just always asking him. Okay, time's up. You expired.
Thank you, Master.
Someone teaches me about expiration date in the United States. That's a concept from H Mart. Yeah. Go ahead, Malcolm from DTT.
Thank you, Master.
You've been abandoned many times, haven't you?
I'm sorry.
Your many girlfriends abandoned you.
That's a different story, but I just want to say that with fear with me, I'm less afraid after learning Chan, because I think the fear starts from inside, not outside. So it had more to do with me.
Ah, Okay, that's some good insights there. The fear is you. Okay, very good. Then how do you fix it?
Well, once you conquer more fear of the leg pain,
Okay.
then I was able to not be as afraid, but still have a long journey to go.
Okay. Okay, very good. All right. As Xienan said, one of the things I like to do when I have such fear, I have this big problem here, that I'm afraid, then I look at what's the worst situation. Because once you look at what's the worst that could happen, then you better prepare. What you do is you fear the worst case. Therefore, look at it instead of, I don't want to go there, I don't want to go there. Go there. Okay? So if your wife leaves you, then it's a horrible, horrible thing. So what are you going to do? Okay? So you have to be prepared for such eventuality. Okay? So that you can reduce your fear of the unknown, and part of your fear is the desire not to have faced it. So that's why you do exactly the opposite. You face it right now. So if she leaves tomorrow, if she doesn't come back to me, okay, then, oh my God. Okay, and so that's why you would help you force yourself to look at that fear, what you really are afraid of. Okay, and as Malcolm says, that fear is you. It's not her. She's just herself. And she has her independence. She's not a living being. She should be free to do whatever she chooses to do. And if your relationship, your love is based on this emotional attachment, I'm afraid that you're not a good husband. You're too needy. Therefore, your relationship is one-sided. And the problem with that is that after her, you're going to bring the same thing to the next person. And therefore, if you are willing to face it and decide how you're going to deal with that, then you better prepare for the next relationship, as well as you're in a better position to improve the current relationship. Your reaction is typical of ordinary people. They live in fear. They're not willing to face the difficult. That's what we ask you to sit in full lotus. Okay. Psychologically, you force yourself to sit in full lotus. And look at this gentleman here. When he first came a few weeks ago, he couldn't sit in full lotus after an hour. After half an hour, he said, I don't know, what am I doing here? It's hurting so much I can't hear anything. Okay, that lady back there as well says, I don't know, why is it 2 hours? And it's so embarrassing. Everyone has to go through this. When I was at Master Xinhua's temple as a novice, I was able to sit for an hour and a half for each lecture pretty easily. An hour and 20 minutes. Whereas my seniors, they couldn't. It's funny to watch them wiggle and, switch to half a lotus and find excuses and so forth. So it's just a similar kind of training. And when you force yourself to face your fears, to face something that's unpleasant, instead of like Sangwok Sunim here who says, oh, I don't know, I don't want this, I don't want to know, I want to look at this. Okay? And then the fear will always be there. You have to trust your instinct. If you're willing to look at the problem, especially when it's your own problem, you will find your own solutions. You have a lot of wisdom that's waiting to emerge if you give yourself a chance. So look at, say, if what's the worst case that could happen? Same thing in business planning. We plan for disaster, FEMA or Homeland Security, whatever. In business as well, we plan for what's the worst case will happen. What are we going to do? Who are we going to cut? Whose head are we going to cut off? Facebook, removed 11,000 employees, and it was just 1 or 2 days. You think it happened because they got together and decided, has been in place already. You have to be better prepared for disasters. Especially, you're so afraid of it. It's really that important. You better be prepared to live without. Because what about your pride as a person? I need you to be stronger. Because these ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, they like us to be stronger. No? They're all giggling. You see? Yeah. Okay. We have to be stronger. And that's very attractive to them, I think. Yeah? Yeah? They all, oh, no. Don't talk like that. Okay? And so if you're stronger because you have fewer fears. You're stronger because you dare face the worst things that could happen to you. And you're stronger because you prepare to live without. Okay? That's the main thing. Main thing is fear is weakness. Look at your fear. Conquer your fear by looking at the worst possible scenario and see how you're going to function. See how you're going to recover. And if you don't know how to recover, ask, okay, how do I recover? That's called disaster planning. That's why we cut people's head off. Facebook can do it in 2 days. It's in place. And it's just waiting to be implemented, that's all. You too.
Master Jimmy went through this about 12 to 14 years ago. So he had fear in him also. And at that time, he didn't express any of it, but behind the scene, that was what was going on. And you told him that if he reaches 4th stage Arhat, he can drop his wife immediately, just like that.
That's brutal. I'm not like that.
You were very brutal back then.
You would not believe how my own students are treating me. Today, a man went on and on about my weaknesses. I look at, my people there and say, can you believe this guy? And he kept on going on and on. He enjoyed it too much.
But Master,
It still continues. My worst fear has happened. Rebellion and backstabbing from my own disciples.
no, Master, hold on, I'm not done yet. So back then, I didn't really understand.
But
what
I can
you were
learn how to
saying.
live without you.
Back then, I didn't understand what you were saying, but I did take your words to heart. And so all these years, every
So we
time,
resented it.
No, hold on, I'm not done yet. So every time something happened, I would request plaques for him because you said, give them blessings. And as of today, I can say Jimmy overcame it. I don't know if he reached fourth, but I know he overcame it. Now he looks at me and he's like, whatever.
And that's what I didn't want to say in public. Now she brought it up. If you look at the fear, your own fear, your worst fear, okay, and you are able to conquer it, and if you're better prepared for that, it will reduce your attachment. Because you look at her, you say, what's the big deal? I can do without. I can handle without. You see, psychologically you do it to yourself. You say, no, I need it. Okay. But in Jimmy's case, he looks at her and says, yuck. Thank you for your most appreciated input. If you decide to, do something with your life, I understand. Just kidding, don't take it so personally. I do. Way Mountain question.
마스터, 제가 저의 경험을 좀 통해서 저도 질문을 드리고 싶은 것이 있는데, 제가 어렸을 적에 부모님께서 이혼을 하시면서 제가 이제 버림받았다는 그런 기분을 크게 느꼈던 것 같습니다. 그래서 그 이후에 저는 그때 아무런 준비가 없었고 당연히 어린아이였으니까, 그리고 명상을 알지도 못했고 마스터를 만나지도 못했던 상황이었기 때문에 대처를 하긴 힘들었고, 그런 나머지 이제 그 이후에 더 이상 더 버림받고 싶지 않다는 마음이 컸기 때문에 뭔가 오히려 더 사람들과의 그 관계 속에서 거리를 뒀던 그런 경험이 있습니다. 그래서 제가 지금 좀 전에 그 질문했던 골드 포레스트에 있던 저 분을 보니까 자녀가 있는 것 같은데, 그렇게 어린 아이들은 이런 상황에서 어떻게 대처하는 것이 좋은지가 궁금합니다.
Master, through my experience, I like to comment, and I have a questions to you. When I was young, my parents got divorced, and I felt that was the biggest abandon. And obviously, I was a child, and I was not prepared. I did not have a master, and I didn't know how to meditate. And I was not able to cope with that abundance. So I grew up, and then I said to myself, I no longer want to be abandoned. So I try to keep distance from other people. So this gentleman from Gold Forest, the one who asked questions, I believe he has a child. So as a child being abandoned in that aspects, how the children can be ready for those type of abundance. Thank you.
I don't know. That's a tough question. The first thing is you want to be there for the children and help them understand it's not their fault. For children, when parents get into trouble, they argue or they get divorced and get separation, they tend to blame themselves that they're the cause of that. And you need to be aware of it and help them through it. They probably will get depressed themselves. Okay, so you need to help them. That's why you need to be strong for that reason, not just for yourself, but also for your children. And it's no good way to prepare them. You cannot overprotect them. Children need to go through life experiences at home, outside, and so forth. And we as parents, as adults, just have to be that pillar for them to lean on when they want to. Okay? And the one thing Sajusunim about children is that according to the psychologists and the therapists, children are very strong. They did a study of children of divorced parents, and they found out that the children adjust very well over time. They're well adjusted, and they seem to be okay. I would add to that that actually it's more than just numbers or measurements. It's just that maybe deep inside they have these emotional scars that they cannot overcome. And this is when you need to be stronger for them and help them face those things. Okay? They have to suffer. You cannot protect them from suffering, from disasters. Okay? Disaster strikes us all, affects us all. Not much we can do, but we can share those experiences and be there for them. Okay? So, yes, it's difficult, but there are plenty of support for you, and the children will learn. And if you use the opportunity to teach them and help them, they will become stronger themselves. You too.
From Alex, I had and have a deep fear of rejection and abandonment. While reciting Guan Yin, it became clear to me that my ego was terrified of not being validated. If who I believe myself to be is not lovable or bringing more attention and love, why do I exist? Then I realized that in order to cultivate, I must not be scared to become more than my ego wants me to be.
Very good. See, this guy is very smart. He figures it out. But Alex, personally, for you personally, is not figuring it out. It's about enduring the pain. It's not intellectual. Intellectually, yes, you can reason it out, but there's no substitute for you having to endure the pain. That's life. This life here in the entire world is suffering. Whether you like it or not, it's a lot of suffering. The joys in life are very minimal, very few, far between. So you have to learn to endure suffering. That's all. And if the suffering actually are good for you, will make you a better person. Sufferings to me are opportunities to improve. Yes, in the back. What is your color? Yellow or black?
Thank you, Master. I wanted to bring up a flip side of Soju Sunim's question. So I feel that the parents staying together just for the sake of their kids is also sometimes not as helpful as they wanted to believe. So I feel that I look at my cousin. He grew up in a family where the parents were arguing, but they decide to stay together just for the sake of him. But then he, I think it also weighed pretty heavily upon him. So I just wanted to throw this kind of flip side out there to remind the parents that although divorce may be a very difficult decision, thinking that staying together for the sake of the children may not be as helpful as you feel it is.
Yes, it's so true. And finally, this thing about dependency on others is a temporary thing. If you depend on others as a form of suffering. To me, I'm a believer in sharing. You have the time, you have a chance to share your life, your time together. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. Don't turn it into something that is selfish and becomes a dependency. Okay? And that's why we're weak. We're weak because we're dependent, whereas we should be enjoying it and sharing what we can have together. That's a lot healthier. And when it's time to leave, when it's time to part ways with dignity, with class. That's how you want them to remember you. Because it doesn't stop here. Next lifetime, they come back and say, oh, maybe I should have not have left you. Okay, and then you say, nah, I moved on, honey, sorry. I outgrew you. You see? That's called sweet revenge. I'm kidding. You girls are so sensitive. Goodness. Yeah. You too.
From Mary Jo, children do better in a divorce. If the home environment had a lot of arguing and fighting, it's not always better to stay together for the children. Children are more resilient than we realize. This issue was already raised, no need to read it. Oh, sorry.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mary Jo. JC.
김보경 씨로부터의 질문입니다. 마스터 법문을 듣고 있는데 마스터 법문을 최근 법문부터 과거 법문 순서로 듣는 게 좋을까요? 아니면 과거 법문을 시작으로 최근 법문 순서로 들으면 좋을까요? 이것이 궁금합니다.
Hello, Master. This is question from Bogyong. Just FYI, I think Sarah doesn't know the name very well. Bogyong, the one that recently improved. Sarah, 해주세요.
네. So this question is from Bogyong. Her question is, she's listening to your Dharma talk. She has a question about order of listening. Should I listen from the present Dharma talk to the past Dharma talk, or study from the past Dharma talk to the present Dharma talk? Thank you.
Oh, bless you, bless you. I love these questions. Why aren't your questions all like this? You can listen to it any way you like. But the most important thing, please remember, listen. As soon you listen, you enter your ears, it goes out the other ear, because I'm only speaking nonsense. Okay, just listen and don't worry. Okay, so listen, and so it's called listening as if not listening. Okay, and that's all. There's no real order. If you're starting out anew, if you're curious about certain things, because basically there are two different types nowadays. The last couple of years or so, my Dharma talks are increasingly more offensive. Okay, more brutal, as my disciple in Wei Mountain Temple just said. And the prior Dharma talks are more typical of the Chinese style of speaking Dharma. Okay, and also recently, today at lunch, one of my students, he says, he noticed that I'm very brutal nowadays with the students. But when I go to Korea, I'm very gentle. So that's a third class of Dharma talks. Korean Dharma talks are very gentle, very sweet, very polite. So seriously, you can listen. Listen to whenever you feel like, to whatever you feel like. If you're curious about the past, how, what we talked about, listen to it. If you're in the mood to be abused and hearing people being abused, listen to today's Dharma talks. More recent Dharma talks, the last 2-3 years. And you want to be treated with respect and dignity, you listen to Korean Dharma talks. Well, thank you. Wow, who think I should go into listening to my Dharma talks now? Yes, YouTube question.
From Lyle, this question is from yesterday's lecture. It was the first time I heard about the Pang family story, and I liked how Master explained it. I'd like to know more about this family, especially the story of their son. Yesterday, Master mentioned that his way of helping his mom was even wiser than the daughters. So I cannot help but ask how the story went with them.
With the son and the mom? Okay. Why, you really will not let go. I told you, listen to me and just drop it. Very good. The point is not so much about the daughter and the father and the son and the mom. The point I was making is that what the Chinese didn't tell their own students is that actually the daughter was a protector and the guide of the father's, the dad's practice. The dad went to see Mazu, went to see Shutou, two eminent Chan masters back then. They are one of the best in the Chinese Chan masters. And he stayed with, I think he went to see Shutou and asked Shutou a question, and Shutou gave him an answer, and he stayed there very short stay, and then because he asked, for example, something like, do you know anyone who's not companion to the 10,000 things? I should have that thing in Chinese, okay? Unfortunately. Okay, I don't have the exact Chinese words. So get Chinese team, please help find me that thing, that anecdote about Layman Pang meeting with Shu To. Shu is stone, To is head. And then later he went to see Ma Zu. So always a Shu To, very short duration, because Shu To, when he asked that, Shu To went up to him and put his hands on his mouth. Okay, and he said, whoa, I like this. Everyone tried to explain to me. This is the first master, Chinese master, who didn't try to explain it to me. So he liked it. So he stayed there for a while, and he said, well, time for me to move on. And then he went to see Ma Zu, and Ma Zu, he asked the same question again. Yes, he asked the same question to all the Chan masters. And he was disenchanted with all of them, except for Shu To. So he stayed a little bit longer. Went to see Ma Zu, and Ma Zu asked a question. Ma Zu says, I will answer you if you can gulp the river water, all the river water in one gulp. And he said, wow, this is so cool. I don't know what you mean, but I like it. Remember, at that time, Layman Pang is an idiot. And so he liked it. He stayed there for 3 months. And then after he's there 3 months, he says something like that. And then he says, time for me to go. And Ma Zu says, okay, go. You're an idiot anyway. You think too highly of yourself. This is what happens to people who have some success in life. They're very hard to teach, especially older people. You instructors, older people, they have their own ways. They have their own, ways of negotiating with you, and they have their own things that you don't understand. You can learn a lot from teaching older students. But anyway, so Layman Pang learned from the greatest Chan masters at the time in Shu To and Ma Zu. So he did stay with them. And he did observe their systems of teaching and their instructions. And so he left to be on his own because he said, I don't need these people. Okay, I can go on my own because I feel that I can figure it out. And what he didn't realize, what is not clear from the story, in my opinion, is that actually the daughter is the one who actually helped him make it. He didn't do it on his own. Okay, it's unlikely he could do it on his own. And similarly, the wife and the son are the other side. When he came back, he says, I will give away my fortune because when I cultivate, I'm supposed to be independent of all worldly conditions. And therefore, like those monks there, I will not be dependent upon money. And so he gave away his money, threw away his money, and he subsisted on his friends and acquaintances' charity. They came and gave him money or whatever, food to support him. So he lived very much like a Sangha training, except there's no teacher. But it's not true. I believe the daughter is the one who guided him, protected him, first of all, give him protection, and give him guidance. And then similarly, the son was the one who was helping the mother. And my point being that because the son's level was higher than his sister, and that's why with the son's protection and guidance of the mom, invisible guidance of the mom, she got better. He was better than her husband. That's my point. Okay? And in the teachings, the story about Layman Pang and his families, there's not a whole lot of information about the son. That's how superior he was. Nothing. There's no trace. You understand? He's invisible. his sister is still attached to her father and her mother. The son was very filial, but he's not attached to his mother or father. That's the difference between the brother and the sister. So, can you love your wife and at the same time not be attached to her? That's the ultimate love. That's not the kind of selfish love we're talking about. Yes, sir, did you try? Did you want to ask a question? Orange? Yes, sir.
To the previous topic, because someone mentioned that during childhood their parents divorced, so then she developed a fear of being abandoned. So I also read in some psychology books that they say that when you have some fears, it's your inner child like manifesting himself. So is that true, or how is that?
I'm sorry, what repeat the last
question
part?
Yeah, they say that when we have some fears, like irrational fears,
yes,
they are related to our inner child. So it's like we have to try to understand those fears.
Okay. I'm not sure what's an inner child. What does it refer to?
Yeah, maybe some traumas that we had when we were a child.
Because inner child is not a Buddhist concept. It's some sort of concept somewhere else. That's why I don't know how to address it. Okay, whatever it is, whatever you call it, it's still what we Buddhists call it. We call it attachment. Fear. The source of fear is attachment. So we simply look at the attachment, the nature of the attachment, and as we see clearer, we'll be able to make it easier for us to let go. And furthermore, as your Shan skills are higher, you can use your skill to drop the attachments pretty easily. So we don't need to go through other concepts such as inner child or outer child or adolescent child okay, there's no need for that. So in other words, since I'm trying to be gentle and polite, it's nonsense. Okay, whatever book you read, whatever author, don't go there. It's a waste of time. There I go again. I'm so sorry. Okay. It's a chanchi. I warned you already. During a chanchi, I have no manners. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Master.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, in the back.
Sometimes when there's fear, a lot of times it's because fear of pain. So when there's fear of rejection or fears of abandonment, it's a lot of it is more about there's a emotional pain involved that a lot of people cannot release that hurtful feeling. That's why it stays on and never feel healed from it.
Mm-hmm. So
what
do you do about it then? What do you suggest we do?
So if they can recognize, sometimes by just simply saying that, recognize that it hurts. And when you're meditating, try to work through releasing the pain or let go of the pain.
Let go of the pain. How do you let go of the pain when you meditate? I would like to know that.
I think many of us sat long enough that we will be able to overcome and basically look at the pain and deal with it. And then after you sit long enough, a lot of us will find ourselves be able to deal with the pain.
Is it fair to say that what we're training them is instead of running away from the pain, endure it? Something, a word like endure? Is that fair to say?
I'm not sure, I guess so. Either endure it or look at it, or that's one way to face it.
If you run away, you always have that problem. One way to deal with your emotional pain is to endure it. We become less vulnerable. Yes, Wei Mountain.
Good evening, Master. Pain is such an interesting topic, isn't it? I mean, that's what we do in a Chanchi. We cross our legs and we force ourselves to deal with physical pain. And I have always found when I am going to a Chanchi and I'm forcing myself to sit longer, that at the same time I'm dealing with emotional pain. To me, they're one and the same, it seems like, for me. I was saying to someone not too long ago that in the beginning of my sits, when I first started, I would have boxes of Kleenex next to me. I would bring my own Kleenex because I'd use all the Kleenex up at LMT. And I would have my favorite pillow, and I'd hug my pillow and sob and make a fool of myself, which I didn't really care. But at the same time, I was facing so many fears of my own. My fear of pain, my fear of whatever fear kind of came up. Emotionally, gosh, I could pull out anything like a rabbit out of a hat. Any kind of fear, they would just pop out because it hurt so much. All these other things would just kind of tumble out of me at the same time. And I think by facing it all, facing the physical pain and the emotional pain, it just helped. I feel I got somewhere. I feel that maybe I wasn't so good at as long as I could sit. Maybe I still had some problems with sitting longer and all that sort of stuff, but still I didn't give up, and I still tried to achieve something. It's not that I tried to achieve, it's just it happened. So I think for your gentleman there who asked the question about fears, I think the thing is you just do it. You just sit. You face the physical pain, and it opens up all these other things. And you're able to face it. You just go through it. And little by little, by experiencing it, you'll see what happens for yourself.
Very good. Anyone else? Very good insights. We can go on and on, but let me tell you. Yes, you too.
Thank you, Master. I kind of hesitate to sharing my experience. I kind of feel his feeling exactly. Back then, I'm sorry. I also had the kind of feeling from abandonment from my husband. So, sorry. So at that time, Master advised me, but I expecting very magic word or sweet word to me, but he's not. Master didn't. He said, "It's life." After I heard it, it's very terrifying. So I'm very scared at the moment. And I realized my situation. So as the Master told me, I just, the face of my situation. So what's the situation? So I realized my situation is my husband feeling and my feeling. So I just meditate every day, and I figured it out how to get away the worst situation. So I got a new job, very fortunately, and I practice and cultivate and read the sutra and recite mantra, and then I'm getting disappear my fear, so I can get still working on, but I'm pretty much get rid of the fear about my situation and my husband. So yeah, I want to share this one, but I'm still working on. Thank you, Master.
Very good. So sweet of you to share it. You see, that's what happens when you endure the pain. Instead of running away from it, you become more generous, become more real. You keep on hiding your fear and denying it, grows on you. So it's very simple, endure it. If it happens, just endure it. Okay, and you have tools. You have the Buddha's name, Wanyin Bodhisattva's name. You have your children's name. They need to be taken care of. That's some distraction from you instead of worrying so much about yourself. You have a job and so forth. You have so many distractions you can use. And you have your temple, you have your cultivators who care, So you have a much stronger support structure than her. She's suffering. And she's searching. And so you are much better off, and it's nothing to be afraid of, frankly. All we have is try our best. And the one common thing that stays there, that is still always there, is that you really care, like Mrs. Pang, for the husband. Because he's the one who abandoned her, destroyed her safety, her future. That's important to her. But she endured it. And maybe because, I don't know that, but maybe because she says, whatever is good for him, I'm glad. Whatever he's doing, I will support. So I love him enough to, if he meditates, I also meditate. He cultivates, I also cultivate, so that I can help him. I can support his cultivation. If you really love someone, then give your best and and be supportive. That's all. And if you like that, I doubt that she can find anyone who can be like that. It's very rare, such people, such men, or such women. Very rare to find, my experience. So, sweet revenge. You tell her, you regret this, honey. Okay? Yeah, not in those terms, but I wish you the best. That's how we behave with class. Otherwise, we will come across as you being bitter. Okay? Hey, I wish you luck. I wish you the best. Okay? Because I am the best. Okay? Behave with pride. Man. Hey, you don't want me, I don't want you. At least pretend that's the case. Until it's more bearable. Do whatever it takes to endure it. You understand? There's no need to go see someone and say, tell me about your parents, tell me about your childhood. Please. Okay? I don't think there's any need for that. Okay? Because all it does is put more ideas in your thoughts, create more attachments for you. Just endure it, that's all. And it hardens you. It softens your heart and opens your mind. Makes you a better person. That's what life is about. That's what marriage is about. It's supposed to help you become a better person, not just because you want to own someone. Okay? The pillar is right there. Okay? It's 24 hours a day. You can lean on it any time. Be like a pillar. You learn Chan in order to be a pillar. That weak people can lean on you. The world can lean on you. Provide for them. Give safety. You give security. You give warmth. You give hope. That's who we are, without saying anything. We ask for nothing. Don't ask to be loved back. They love you because you deserve to love. Because they feel you deserve their love. You don't have to ask for it. Okay? All right. Do we have enough for this love bullshit things? What happened to killing and maiming and ruthlessness, like James Bond? I like to think James Bond has a solution for everything. And to my horror, my disciples are not impressed with James Bond. My role model, my true idol. Jumi, say something. What happened to her? She's like so subdued nowadays.
Hello, Master.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 마스터, 일단 오늘 있었던 말씀들에 대한 저의 견해는 일단
3 sentences, honey. Don't go too far. Just because I call on you doesn't mean you can do 10 minutes. That's your current lesson. 3 sentences. The old monk, I gave him 4. You is only 3.
Yes, Master.
Okay, let's start over.
Number 1.
Okay.
일단 제 경험상 저의 공포는 저의 강한 집착과 연결되어 있다라는 것이 통찰이 되고 나서 제 공포를 좀 해결하는 데 도움이 됐던 것 같아요. 세라님 먼저 넘버 1.
It's a very long sentence. Did you notice that? She took like 5 breaths.
Based on my experience, Master, my fear came from strong attachment. I realized that, and the realization helped to resolve those fear.
그리고 두 번째는 제가 생리상담사로 일을 하다 보니까 내담자들이 막연한 불안일 때가 불안이 제일 커지더라고요. 그래서 마스터 방법대로 저도 내담자들한테 이렇게 제안을 했었거든요. 최악의 상황을 상상하고 그 최악의 상황을 피하기 위해서 내가 할 수 있는 일을 하면 된다. 네.
So when I work as a counselor, I see the people has just the fear. There's no reason but just the fear. So I told them, just like what Master said, I told them to imagine the worst situation and see how you could avoid it and then deal with it.
제가 심리상담사라는 직업을, 그러니까 심리상담사라는 직업을 옹호하는 건 아니지만, 현실 스님 말씀대로 직면하기 어려운 내담자들 그리고 수행자들을 봤거든요. 제가 생각하는 수행은 내 자신을 버리는 게 아상과 에고를 제거해서 내 자신을 버리는 게 수행인데 직면하기 어려운 사람들은 버려야 할 나가 확실하지 않기 때문에 심리상담이나 여러 가지 감정적인 도움을 통해서 내가 무엇을 버려야 할 것인가를 좀 이렇게 도움을 주는 것도 필요하다고 생각하고 다시 말씀드리지만 심리상담사라는 직업을 옹호하는 것은 아닙니다. Thank you, Master.
It's 8 breaths now. You, yeah, go ahead. Translation.
So as a psychological counselor, I'm not really advocating their professions, but as a psychological counselor, I saw many people with a problem. What their problem is, their ego. They don't know how to remove themselves, the ego, and they don't know what the ego is, and then that doesn't help them for the cultivation. So because of that, they can face the actual fear. So as a psychological counselor, we could kind of help them to see their ego, and then maybe that will guide them to see what the difficult to face. And then, hold on one second, last part, I can't remember, sorry. 뭐라고 말씀하셨어요?
그러니까 마지막 문장은 심리상담사라는 직업을 옹호하는 건 아니지만 내담자들이나 수행자들이 자기의 문제나 자기의 두려움을 직면할 수 있도록 도움을 받아야 된다. 그게 제 의견입니다.
So I'm not advocating counselors, but at least they could help them to face their own problem. In that way, it could be helpful.
Yes, I agree. But I mean that if he's different in that he has chan, so chan is slightly better than talking to someone else. Okay. He can figure it out. He's smart. And the fact he's able to even bring it up in public, that's strength already. You know, I think that's not the same man as I who first came to Go Force a few months ago. He's a lot stronger now. He dares face it already. He said, yeah, I don't want to talk about this. Don't mention my name. Okay. Hey, I'd like to ask Xian if I may, at JMT, did you divorce your husband? I know so little about you. So can we hear tonight? Did you
네.
leave him?
네, 이혼했습니다.
네. So share with us. Did your husband, what happened to your husband? He married someone else. And he's very happy now.
모릅니다.
What's that? 모릅니다.
행복한지 불행한지 모릅니다.
I don't know, Master, if he's happy or unhappy.
So tell us, so what's your words of wisdom?
제가 남편이 한 행동을 알게 됐을 때, 그 누구한테도 말하지 못하고, 일단 애들이 고등학교를 졸업할 때까지는 그냥 산다였습니다. 그리고 이제 막내가 고등학교를 졸업하고 나면은 이혼을 해야겠다고 마음을 먹었습니다. 그리고 같이 사는 동안에 제가 남편에게 바란 것은 남편이 자기가 한 행동에 굉장한 죄책감을 느꼈는데 그 죄책감에 이렇게 허우적거리지 않고 그 잘못을 직면하기를 제가 엄청 바랬습니다. 그래서 잘못한 것을 인정하고 내가 잘못을 했으니 그거를 내가 감당을 해야겠다. 그리고 이렇게 매일 술 마시고 괴로워하기보다는 잘못한 것을 그대로 받아들이고 매일매일 올바른 정신으로 술에 취하지 않고 이렇게 괴로워하지 않는 모습으로 살기를 이렇게 바랬는데 어느 날 우연히 제가 불교를 접할 수 있게 해주신 선생님이 저한테 갑자기 전화를 하셔서 물어보셨어요. 어떤 일이 있었냐고. 그래서 그 순간 저도 모르게 남편이 한 행동을 이야기를 했더니 그건 가정이 아니다. 이렇게 이혼을 해야 된다. 이제 저도 이미 이혼을 하기로 결정을 하고 있었는데 제가 애들을 혼자 키울 자신이 없어서 참고 살았던 거예요. 그래서 일단 애들이 고등학교를 졸업하고 막내가 대학교에 입학하고 1년이 지난 후에 이제 이혼을 하게 됐습니다. 근데 남편이 저에게 감추었는데 제가 그 남편이 사실대로 이야기를 안 하고 이렇게 진실을 감추었는데 어느 순간 제가 한순간에 이러지 않았냐고 물어봤더니 남편이 감추지 못하고 사실대로 저한테 실토를 했었거든요. 근데 이제 이혼을 하고 나서 어떠한 원망도 없고 미움이 없고 관심이 없습니다. 그리고 이제 최근에는 어떤 생각이 들었냐면 그 애들 아빠이기 때문에 그 사람을 위해서도 제가 이렇게 뭔가를 도와줘야 된다는 그런 생각이 들었습니다.
It's about my husband. I found about his behavior. When I found about his behavior, I could not able to discuss with anyone. And I decide that I'm gonna stay in marriage until my last youngest child graduate from high school. And during the marriage, he felt extremely sorry about his behavior. And what I want from him was his acknowledgement about his behavior and need to deal with clear mind without drinking and accept his wrongdoing without any suffering. One day there is a teacher who introduced Buddhism to me. And suddenly this teacher asked me, "What happened to you?" So I explained about my husband's behavior. And the teacher said, "That's not acceptable. That is not a marriage. You should be divorced." To be honest, I did not have any confidence to raise children. That's one of the reason that I could not divorce him. But eventually time passed. My youngest child went into the college on his first year. Then I divorced him. My husband hid the truth and never talked to me about. But one day I just suddenly asked him about the truth and he explained. So right now I don't have any hatred or I don't have any interest about him. But recently this thought arose that he is actually father of my children and maybe I need to help him. Thank you.
Very good. So you suffer a lot too yourself. You went through and endured a lot as well, whether it's through Chan meditation or staying in the marriage. Okay, but her point here is what made it easier for her was she thought of her children. It helped her make it more bearable, right? Make it through the day. Okay, so go on.
그리고 그렇게 제가 참을 수 있었던 것은 신앙의 의미였다라고 이렇게 생각을 합니다. 이렇게 제가 가톨릭 신자였는데 결혼하고 나서 한 거의 17년 동안 그러니까 애들이 고등학교 졸업하기까지 거의 세상하고 담을 쌓고 사람들하고 거의 교류를 하지 않고 이렇게 거의 이렇게 매일 기도하면서 하루에 적어도 2-3시간 이상은 기도하면서 이렇게 살았는데 그 힘으로 그게 막내가 초등학교 4학년이니까 17, 14, 한 10년을 그렇게 참아낼 수 있었던 것은 이렇게 신앙의 힘이었던 것 같습니다.
The reason that I was able to endure, I would say hope. It was a hope. I was a Catholic at the time, and after I got married, it was 17 years. And during that 17 years, what I did was I stay away from people, and I pray at least 2 to 3 hours daily. With that power, about 10 years, I was able to endure. And I want to say I was able to endure due to the power of hope.
Okay. And what another lesson from her experience is that she knew that her husband could not bring her happiness. He never cared for her anyway. Am I correct?
남편은 누군가를 돌봐줄 만한 사람이 아니었습니다. 저에게 의지를 했습니다. 결혼한 순간부터 이혼하기까지, 이혼하고 나서도 저에게 의지를 했습니다. 애들을 전혀 돌보지 않았고, 이혼하고 나서 애들이 대학을 졸업하기까지 제가 그 부모로부터 받은 유산으로 애들을 키웠습니다.
Husband, my ex-husband, he cannot take care of anyone. He's not in situation of carrying anyone. During the marriage, he relied on me. Even after the divorce, he leaned on me. Until the kids graduate from the college, basically I supported them from the inheritance from my parents.
I see. Okay. Very good. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. One of the messages that I would tell you personally is that it may not be such a big loss to you. Should disaster strikes. From what I heard so far, from your angle, maybe a good thing. But I see now in young Koreans, and I see here experience from the CNN's case and many young Koreans. There is this realization that leaning on a man or leaning on someone else will not make them happy. Not because of financial reasons or whatever, personal reasons, but there's a realization in a lot of young people nowadays that dependency, they're reluctant to commit to dependency, to depend on someone, because they see that there are lots of issues that are unresolved. So, no need to be fearful. It's the bottom line. The tougher it is, the stronger we become. The more suffering we endure, the better we become. So don't be afraid of suffering. There's no need. Because we're going to suffer with or without her anyway. Okay? That's the bottom line. We're going to suffer. This is what we are. And look at Yuka. She made it in spite of all the suffering. She inflicted upon her husband. He made it too. Okay? It's no need to be fearful. Okay, how interesting of the evening here. So thank you all for sharing your experience and providing your input. It's truly, we're learning from each other. It makes my life richer to hear about your experience and your challenges. Thank you. Good evening. And Jumi, next time you have 5 questions, 5 statements, okay? But 1 breath. Okay, honey, I have something for you.